Welcome to our deep dive.
Right.
Today we're going to be looking into 2 Kings. You've sent us selections from this book.
That's right.
And we're ready to uncover the fascinating insights from it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking kings, prophets, divine interventions, and lessons learned along the way, sometimes the hard way.
Yeah, and some pretty tough lessons, too.
Right.
2 Kings picks up where 1 Kings leaves off.
Okay.
So we're following the kingdoms of Israel and Judah after the reign of Solomon.
Got it.
It's a wild ride of faith and betrayal,
okay.
power struggles, and ultimately consequences of turning away from God.
Okay, so let's jump into the book kicks off with Elijah.
Yes.
A prophet we remember from 1 Kings.
That's right.
And this time he's confronting King Ahaziah, who, after a pretty bad accident, decides to consult a pagan god for healing. And I'm thinking, hasn't he learned anything from history?
Right? Like, hasn't he seen how this plays out?
Yeah.
It's a recurring theme we'll see throughout 2 Kings. This idea of seeking guidance and help from sources other than the God of Israel.
And it doesn't end well for him.
It does not end well for Ahaziah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Elijah delivers a pretty serious message.
He does.
A fiery one, in fact.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, fire from heaven consumes 2 groups of soldiers.
Wow.
It's like, okay, we get it. Don't mess with Elijah.
Right.
Or his God.
Or his God.
Right, but then things escalate quickly from there. Elijah is whisked away in a whirlwind.
Right.
Leaving his protege Elisha to carry on his legacy.
Big shoes to fill.
Can you imagine the pressure?
Yeah. Talk about pressure, right?
Yeah.
But it's amazing how Elisha just picks up that mantle.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively.
Right.
He performs even more miracles than Elijah.
Like what?
From parting the Jordan River to even bringing a child back to life.
Wow, that's incredible.
But what I find really interesting is that these miracles aren't just spectacle.
Yeah.
They often have a purpose.
Okay.
They're tied to helping those in need.
I like that.
Like when he multiplies a widow's oil to save her from creditors.
Oh, yeah. That
shows compassion in God's provision.
Right.
But then you have that other story about those youths who mock Elisha.
Oh,
The one with the bears.
yeah. Not a good ending for them.
No, it's a stark reminder that there are consequences
Uh-huh.
for disrespecting God's prophet.
And that theme continues as we get into the political part of 2 Kings.
Absolutely.
So there's that story with the Alliance of Kings.
Right.
They're facing a water shortage during their campaign against Moab. Desperate times call for desperate measures, right?
You got it.
But instead of just relying on military, might they turn to Elisha for guidance?
And that's what they should do, right?
Yeah.
He's the prophet, and he promises them victory.
Wow.
And miraculously, water fills the valley,
No way.
and it appears blood red to the Moabites.
So, that's crazy.
Yeah, they charge in,
Okay.
thinking their enemies have slaughtered each other.
Oh, so it's like,
But they end up completely defeated.
wow, what a story.
Right? It's this fascinating blend of divine intervention
Uh-huh.
and military strategy.
I was going to say like psychological warfare.
Absolutely.
But then the Moabite king reacts to this impending defeat in a really heartbreaking way.
Yeah.
He offers his own son as a sacrifice.
It's a grim reminder of
Yeah.
the brutality and darkness that can be a part of conflict. And this theme of moral complexity continues in the story of Naaman, the Syrian general, who's healed of leprosy by Elisha.
That story is just so powerful.
It is.
God's healing power transcends national boundaries, and Naaman is so humbled by the experience.
That's beautiful.
But then Elisha's servant Gehazi gets greedy.
Yeah.
He lies to Naaman, demands gifts,
Right.
and ends up with leprosy himself.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even those close to God can be tempted by material wealth.
And the consequences are swift and severe.
Wow.
Gehazi's deceit not only harms him physically, but also spiritually.
Right.
And it makes us think,
Yeah.
what compromises are we making in our pursuit of worldly gain?
Yeah.
And what could we lose because of it?
That's a good question for all of us to think about.
It is.
Wow, so we've got fiery prophets.
Yeah.
When her son, King Ahaziah, is killed, she decides to eliminate the whole royal bloodline just to secure her throne.
Wow, what a move.
Can you imagine?
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
You know, she was eliminating any rivals
Yeah.
just to make sure she had a tight grip on power.
Wow.
I mean, it shows you how far people will go
Right.
to stay in charge.
But luckily, baby Joash, the rightful heir,
Right.
is whisked away and hidden by his aunt.
It's like something out of a movie.
I know, right?
Hiding in the temple for 6 years.
It's this symbol of hope
Yeah.
amidst all this terror.
You got it.
And then the priest Jehoiada comes up with this plan
Okay.
to expose Athaliah and put Joash back on the throne.
This is a big moment.
I know.
This is a turning point in the story.
Yeah, it's pretty satisfying to see her get taken down.
You know, Jehoiada wasn't just saving a kid.
Right.
He was preserving the whole Davidic line.
Oh, wow.
The line from which the Messiah was supposed to come.
Oh, that's right.
That's pretty huge.
It is.
He was courageous.
Yeah.
Had a good plan, and it worked.
Yeah.
Athaliah's gone.
Right.
And order's restored.
But even with Joash back in charge,
Mm-hmm.
Judah still has another threat.
Oh, yeah, they got a big one.
The Assyrian Empire.
That's right.
They were a force to be reckoned with.
They were powerful,
Yeah.
ruthless,
Yeah.
a threat to everybody.
And unfortunately for Israel,
Yeah.
they end up falling to the Assyrians.
They did.
Despite all the warnings.
Even with Jeroboam II.
Yeah.
He was chosen by God to save them.
It's sad to think about those 10 tribes being scattered.
Yeah. Lost to history.
It really makes you think about staying faithful.
It does.
But even with all that destruction,
Yeah.
a glimmer of hope pops up in Judah
Okay.
with King Hezekiah.
Yes. Hezekiah's a good one.
He seems to get it.
He does. He's often seen as like a model king.
Oh, really?
He wanted to reform Judah
Right.
and get the people back to worshiping Yahweh.
So how did he do that?
Well, he cleansed the temple, got rid of idols, even
Wow.
that bronze serpent from Moses' time, because people were worshiping it.
Wow. He really took charge.
He did.
Refocused everyone on the one true God.
Exactly.
But what about the Assyrians?
Oh, yeah, good point.
Did they just back down?
Well, at first,
Yeah.
Hezekiah tried to pay them off
Okay.
with silver and gold.
Okay.
They weren't having it. They weren't satisfied.
No.
They wanted more.
So what'd they do?
They laid siege to Jerusalem.
Wow.
Their spokesperson, Rabshakeh, launched this whole psychological warfare thing,
What do you mean?
mocking Hezekiah's God,
Oh, wow.
trying to demoralize everyone,
It's harsh.
trying to get them to surrender without a
My.
fight.
So did it work?
No! Hezekiah prayed to God for help,
Okay.
and God delivered,
Uh-huh.
but not with a big battle.
What happened?
An angel wiped out 185,000 Assyrian soldiers in one night.
Now that's divine intervention.
Talk about power. The Assyrian king Sennacherib was totally defeated.
Yeah.
He retreated back to Nineveh.
Wow. So Hezekiah's in the clear.
You'd think so, but he gets sick.
Oh, no.
Really sick.
Like, can this guy catch a break?
It's like one thing after another.
Right.
But this is where you see his faith.
Okay.
He begs God to remember his faithfulness,
Yeah.
and God gives him 15 more years,
Wow.
a second chance.
I know, right?
It's a reminder
Yeah.
that God is merciful even when we face consequences.
Yeah.
Hezekiah's story
Yeah.
shows us how important it is to be humble and to ask for forgiveness.
But there's that moment
Uh-huh.
when Hezekiah meets envoys from Babylon,
Yes.
and he's so proud showing off his treasures.
That pride,
Yeah,
it can be dangerous.
that's right.
Isaiah even warns Hezekiah that all that stuff
Yeah.
will be taken to Babylon someday.
It's like a foreshadowing
It is.
of what's to come.
Absolutely.
It's a good reminder that earthly possessions are fleeting.
They are everything ultimately belongs to God.
Right. And speaking of things changing,
Yeah.
the story takes another turn when Manasseh, Hezekiah's son, becomes king.
This is where things get dark again.
Uh-oh, this doesn't sound good.
It's not.
What did he do?
Well, he did the opposite of his father.
Okay.
Reversed all the reforms.
Oh, no.
Brought back the pagan altars.
Right.
Even participated in child sacrifice.
Wow, that's awful.
He completely rejected God's laws.
So he's basically going back to
Yeah.
the things that ruined Israel.
Exactly.
What happened because of that?
Well, God declared judgment on Judah,
Uh-huh.
and it wasn't pretty.
It's a dark time in Judah's history.
It is.
It really shows
Yeah.
that even generations of faithfulness
Yeah.
can be undone
Absolutely.
by just one leader's choices.
That's right.
But even with this judgment,
Mm-hmm.
God's mercy is still there.
It is.
Manasseh's grandson Josiah becomes king,
Is.
and he's a breath of fresh air.
He is.
His reign is all about repentance and renewal.
Yes.
They rediscover the book of the law.
During temple renovations.
Okay.
And it totally changes Josiah.
How so?
He realizes how far Judah has strayed
Okay.
and starts making big changes.
Wow.
Reforms.
Like what?
He destroyed idols, cleansed the temple, even brought back Passover.
It's like a religious revival.
Exactly.
But the book ends kind of ominously.
It does.
Manasseh's sins still have this lingering effect.
Right.
And the threat of Babylon is still there.
It's like they're on the edge of a cliff.
Right.
Will Judah learn from their mistakes?
Yeah.
Will Josiah's reforms be enough?
It makes you think.
It does.
About the choices we make and how they affect the future.
It's a great point.
We've covered so much.
I know.
But there's still more to uncover.
Absolutely.
Join us as we finish up 2 Kings.
Yes.
And find out what happens to Judah. We're back and ready to finish up our deep dive into 2 Kings.
Yeah, we left off with a lot of questions about Judah's fate.
Right. Josiah had done all this work to bring them back to God.
He did a lot of reforming.
But there were still those lingering consequences from the past and that threat from Babylon.
Looming over them.
So tell me, does Josiah manage to pull them through?
Well, sadly, no. Despite his efforts.
Yeah.
Judah's fate is tied to Babylon.
Oh, wow.
And Josiah actually meets a tragic end.
What do you mean?
He's killed in battle.
What is it? He seemed like he was on the right track making all these changes.
He was a good king, but it's a complicated situation.
Oh, okay.
Pharaoh Necho of Egypt was marching through Judah, and Josiah felt he had to defend his land.
Okay.
So he confronted him, and it cost him his life.
Wow, that's a tough way to go.
It is tragic.
Especially since he was trying to do the right thing.
It makes you think about free will and destiny.
Did you wonder how much control we really have?
Big questions.
Right. But his death doesn't erase all the good he did.
That's true.
He really left his mark on Judah.
He did.
So what happens next?
Well, after Josiah, there are a few other kings, but none of them measure up. And the people of Judah, they kind of forget the lessons of the past.
It's like they're doomed to repeat it.
Exactly.
And I bet it doesn't end well.
It doesn't. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, he besieges Jerusalem.
So it's like that prophecy from Isaiah was coming true.
That's right.
Wow.
Remember all that wealth Hezekiah showed off?
Yeah.
It's all gone now.
Taken by the Babylonians?
They took everything from the temple.
Wow.
Destroyed the city walls, burned the temple down.
Oh my goodness.
And took the people of Judah into exile.
That's a rough ending.
It is.
Makes you realize that no kingdom, no matter how powerful, is immune to the consequences of turning away from God.
It's a reminder for all of us.
But there's a little bit of hope at the end.
There is.
Okay.
It ends with Jehoiachin, a king who had been exiled to Babylon. And after years in prison, the Babylonian king shows him favor and releases him.
So even in the midst of all that destruction, there's still mercy, viz. And second chances.
2 Kings is a powerful book.
It is.
It shows us what happens when we make good and bad choices, both as individuals and as a nation.
Absolutely.
It reminds us to be faithful to God, to follow his laws, and to always seek his guidance.
It's a book filled with so much drama and intrigue.
Absolutely.
But also these really deep lessons.
They really resonate even today.
If you're interested in learning more,
you should definitely check out the full book.
Yeah, you won't regret it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into 2 Kings.
It was a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep seeking truth.